Hello everyone. Today we're going to explore an issue that many of us might overlook. How living with your children in old age can impact your peace and autonomy more than you may realize. But don't think this is just some distant theory. Through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we'll uncover surprising perspectives that will not only help you understand your situation better, but also empower you to take back control of your life in a meaningful and powerful way. Let me share the story of a woman named Sarah. It's a story I believe will touch your heart, not only because it reflects the reality of many, but also because it contains a valuable life lesson. Sarah, 69, once lived a peaceful life until her beloved husband passed away. Left with a deep void, her daughter Mina convinced her to move in to be closer to the family, especially to help care for her grandchildren. Sarah agreed, thinking this would be an opportunity to reconnect with her family and fill the emptiness after such a significant loss. Who wouldn't want to be near their loved ones as they approach old age? In the beginning, Sarah's new life was beautiful and serene. First few months were filled with the laughter of her grandchildren, the sweet aroma of baked goods wafting through the house, and warm family dinners under the glow of golden lights. Sarah felt useful, important, and connected to family life in the way she had long desired. Every time she set the table or tidied the house, she thought to herself, "This is happiness. This is what I've been looking for." But as with everything in life, that sense of happiness didn't last forever. The early weeks filled with laughter and connection slowly became repetitive and dull. One afternoon, while preparing dinner in the kitchen, Sarah overheard her daughter Mina talking on the phone with her husband. "Mom has helped our family so much. I don't know how we would manage without her," Mina said, full of gratitude. At first, Sarah felt proud. But after the conversation ended, a seed of worry began to sprout inside her. A big question slowly formed in her mind. Is my entire purpose now just to help my family? Am I losing myself? At that moment, the words of Stoic philosopher Epictetus echoed in Sarah's mind. We are not disturbed by events, but by the views we take of them. In the days that followed, that quote kept resurfacing in her thoughts, pushing her to reflect on her current life. Everything seemed to become dull and repetitive. Breakfast, laundry, picking up the kids, dinner. Each day passed like an unending cycle. She couldn't even recall the last time she read a book or took a walk, because she genuinely wanted to, not because of family duties. Stoic philosophy teaches that true happiness doesn't come from external things, but from controlling our thoughts and desires. It's about mastering ourselves and finding true value within. But now Sarah felt as if she had lost control over her own life. One Sunday morning, while baking for her grandchildren, Sarah suddenly stopped. She realized how much she missed her private space, her free time, and the ability to decide what she wanted to do. She wondered, am I being selfish for wanting moments of freedom? But then Marcus Aurelius's words came to mind. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Sarah realized she wasn't being selfish for wanting time for herself. On the contrary, it was necessary to maintain balance in her life and keep her soul at peace. She needed moments to recharge, to remember who she was before becoming a mother or a grandmother. That evening, after the grandchildren had gone to bed, Sarah sat on the porch, gazing at the twinkling stars in the night sky. She asked herself, is this really what I want for the rest of my life? The question hung in the air, unanswered, but it laid the groundwork for the changes that were about to unfold in her life. The poet Robert Frost once wrote, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Sarah began to wonder if she had unintentionally lost her own path in life by trying to be the perfect grandmother and mother. Did she find herself again and take control of her life once more? Before we continue with Sarah's inspiring journey, if you find this video helpful and valuable, Please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future content. Sarah's story isn't just about a woman reclaiming her freedom. It's a lesson for all of us about living a more meaningful life by embracing autonomy and finding joy in our own lives. As we move forward, I'll share more about how Sarah rediscovered her path through the profound principles of Stoic philosophy, and how you too can apply them to transform your life. Recently, Sarah has begun to notice subtle but significant changes in her daily life, and they are not the positive kind. What started as occasionally helping her daughter Mina with her granddaughter has now become an inseparable part of her daily routine. Peaceful mornings, moments of relaxation with a hot cup of tea in the soft sunlight, time to savor her favorite book, or simply sitting quietly by the window, all vanish. These precious moments have been replaced with countless duties: changing diapers, feeding, and putting her grandchild to sleep. Sarah realized that her life had changed far more than she had anticipated. Instead of just being a loving grandmother, she was gradually taking on the role of a mother, essentially stepping into her daughter's shoes to raise the children. As time passed, her responsibilities grew, and Sarah found herself overwhelmed by an inescapable exhaustion. Despite this, Sarah never considered complaining. For her, family was always the top priority, and her love for her children and grandchildren was unparalleled. She believed that any grandmother would willingly bear such responsibility. Yet, with each passing day, she felt increasingly weighed down, not just physically, but mentally. A strange feeling of loss, something she couldn't quite name, began to grow within her. While she loved her grandchildren, she also felt as though she was losing herself. Sarah's story is far from unique. Many mothers and grandmothers face this silent sacrifice. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Time doesn't stand still, and neither does life." Sarah, once a woman who lived freely and on her own terms, now felt that each morning was the start of another endless cycle of responsibility. She wondered if she would ever have time for herself again. In the past, Sarah's days were filled with activities she loved. She enjoyed afternoon walks in the sunset, evening coffee with friends, and even attended yoga class. But all of this now seemed like a distant memory. Yet, Sarah never complained because she knew her family needed her. She saw it as her duty, her responsibility to bear. However, as the weight of responsibility grew, her energy and spirit began to diminish. The feeling of being trapped gradually took hold, like an undercurrent, growing stronger each day. Psychologist Antonio Guijarro coined the term grandmother slave to describe this phenomenon, a hidden burden of love and sacrifice for the family that eventually turns into unpaid labor. Sarah loved her grandchildren and her children, but that didn't mean she didn't feel tired. Sometimes, as she changed diapers or rocked her grandchild to sleep at night, she wondered if there would ever be a day when she could live her own life again. Gradually, the exhaustion became more than just physical. The sense of being trapped deepened, affecting her mental health. The harder she tried to keep smiling and carry on, the more she felt herself fading away bit by bit. Growing sense of frustration and loss hung over her. Every day she'd put on a brave face for her family. Deep inside, she felt like she was disappearing. Psychologist Carol Gilligan once spoke of the ethic of care, where women often prioritize the needs of others above their own. Sarah was living proof of this theory. Day by day, hour by hour, she sacrificed her time, energy, and even her happiness for her family. But when night fell, in those rare moments of solitude, she felt emptier and more alone than ever. Every evening, as night descended and the grandchildren were fast asleep, Sarah would sit quietly by the window. The peaceful mornings and cups of coffee had become distant memories. Her dreams of travel and unfulfilled plans seemed to have vanished. She had once dreamed of exploring the world. Now even the thought of such things seemed too far out of reach. When Sarah had decided to move closer to her daughter, she believed she would find joy and companionship in her old age. But reality didn't align with her expectation. The house, filled with the laughter of children, now only made her feel lonelier than ever. The joyful sounds of her grandchildren were no longer enough to fill the void inside her. What she thought would bring happiness had turned into a burden. Studies have shown that elderly people who maintain independence tend to live happier, more fulfilling lives. But how could Sarah keep her independence when every day was dictated by someone else's needs? Every time her daughter asked her to do something, Sarah felt like another drop of water was falling into an already overflowing cup. Her heart grew heavier, despite her deep love for her family. It was a love so immense that it left her feeling conflicted. One night, after an exhausting day, Sarah sat quietly in her bedroom, gazing out the window. She couldn't hold back her tears. She felt abandoned, not by others, but by herself. The walls of the house, once a warm home, now felt like an invisible cage trapping her. The physical exhaustion, combined with the emotional loneliness, made Sarah feel weaker each passing day. Sarah's story is not just her own. Many elderly people are silently enduring this, living in the shadows of unacknowledged and unreciprocated sacrifice. These are people who once had dreams, who once lived freely, now find themselves stuck in the never-ending cycle of family obligation. Is there a way for Sarah and those like her to reclaim their freedom without losing the love of their family? Or will their lives continue to drift in a loop of responsibility and silent sacrifice? Every person deserves a life where they can grow both physically and mentally. But for Sarah, will she ever have the chance to grow again when every passing day makes her feel smaller and smaller in a home that should have brought her? One ordinary day, like so many others, Sarah was busy with household chores and caring for her grandchildren when the doorbell unexpectedly rang. She quickly wiped her hands on her apron and hurried to the door. Standing there was her longtime close friend Julia, holding a basket of fresh fruit and wearing her usual radiant smile. But the moment the door opened, Julia's smile faltered. The woman standing before her wasn't the lively, cheerful friend she once knew, but a pale, exhausted version of Sarah, with dark circles under her eyes and a weary posture. "Sarah, is that really you? You look different," Julia said, unable to hide her surprise and concern. Sarah, trying to maintain her composure, invited her friend inside with a forced smile. "I'm fine, really, just a bit busy these days," she replied, quietly closing the door, hoping to hide the storm of emotions brewing inside her. Sitting down at the kitchen table, the two friends began to talk. Julia glanced around the house, which had always been spotless under Sarah's care, but now it seemed cluttered and lifeless. Old newspapers were piled haphazardly on the table, and the grandchildren's toys lay scattered across the floor. Julia said nothing, but her eyes betrayed her worry. "Sarah, are you really okay?" Julia asked, her voice soft but sincere. That was the breaking point. Sarah could no longer hold back her emotions. Tears welled up in her eyes, and, like a dam bursting, they began to flow silently down her cheek. "I'm not okay, Julia," Sarah finally admitted through her sobs. "I feel like I've lost myself. I love my grandchildren and my children, but it's as if I've become someone else. I'm no longer me. My dreams, my hobbies, everything has faded away. I've lost Sarah." Julia sat quietly, her eyes full of empathy. She reached out and gently squeezed Sarah's hand in silence. After Sarah had poured out her heart, Julia spoke, her voice calm but firm. "Sarah, if I told you that I've been through something similar, would you believe me? You're not alone in feeling this way." Sarah's eyes widened in surprise at Julia's confession. "You? But you always seem so happy, so free and fulfilled. I never thought you went through this too." Julia smiled softly. "It hasn't always been like that. Do you remember when I moved in with my children? Back then, I thought it was the best decision for everyone. but after a few months, I realized it was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Julia began to recount her own journey. Like Sarah, she had lost herself in the role of mother and grandmother. Each day was consumed with endless tasks, caring for the grandchildren, helping her children. She thought that this sacrifice was expected, that it was the only way to show her love for her family. But then she realized she had forgotten something important. Self. You know, Sarah, Julia continued, one day I was sitting by the window, wondering, where did the woman I used to be go? Then I remembered a quote. The only person you are destined to become, the person you decide to be. And I decided it was time to find myself again. Sarah listened intently to Julia's story, feeling as though each word opened a new door in her soul. So what did you do? Sarah asked, her voice filled with curiosity but also tinged with anxiety. The first thing I did was move out and live on my own, Julia replied. It wasn't easy, but I knew I had to do it. I explained to my children that I needed my own space to regain balance in my life. At first, they didn't understand. They were even a little hurt. But over time, our relationship improved. Now they don't see me as a burden or a caretaker. They see me as their mother, an independent and happy woman. Sarah, you have to remember that taking time for yourself isn't just good for you. It's good for your family too. When you're happy and fulfilled, you bring positive energy to everyone around you. Sarah sat in silence, absorbing Julia's words. But I feel so guilty, Julia. If I change, won't my grandchildren feel abandoned? I'm afraid I'll hurt them. Julia looked directly into Sarah's eyes, her gaze steady and full of understanding. Sarah, remember, Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot control everything outside of ourselves, but we can control how we respond to life. Grandchildren will grow up and find their own paths. The only thing you can do is live your life, balancing love for them with love for yourself. Sarah felt a new light being kindled within her. Julia's words were like a key, unlocking the door she had been lost behind for so long. But how do I start? She asked, voice both hesitant and hopeful. Julia smiled, warm and confident. Start with the smallest steps, Sarah. Take a few hours each week for yourself. Read a book you love, go for a walk, meet with friends. Find joy in the little things you've forgotten. And remember, you're not selfish for loving yourself. It doesn't diminish your love for your family. In fact, it will make your relationship with them even more meaningful. Sarah sat quietly, letting Julia's words sink deep into her heart. She knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also understood that it was time to make a change. Julia had shown her that happiness doesn't come from unconditional sacrifice. It comes from finding balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. And then in that warm kitchen, Sarah smiled. Wasn't the forced, weary smile of a woman trying to hide her exhaustion. It was the smile of someone who had just found her way back to herself. The next morning, Sarah decided to make a small change, just a little step, but enough to start a new journey. After dropping her grandchildren off at school, she didn't immediately rush home to tackle the waiting pile of chores. Instead, she decided to take a walk around the nearby park. The gentle breeze brushed her face, and the sound of leaves rustling beneath her feet helped melt away the stress and pressure she had carried for so many years. Each step seemed to release a part of the burden she had been holding, as if she was slowly reclaiming herself with each breath. As she walked, Sarah remembered one of the core tenets of Stoicism. We cannot control everything that happens in life, but we can control how we face it. True freedom is not about escaping responsibilities, but freeing ourselves from unrealistic expectations, those of others and our own. Sarah began to understand that change didn't mean abandoning her family. It meant finding balance, so she wouldn't be buried under everyone else's expectation. Those walks became more than just moments of rest. They became a time for Sarah to reconnect with herself. She didn't need to do anything grand. She just needed to be present, to listen to the sounds of nature, feel the cool breeze, and smell the fresh scent of the trees. Gradually, these walks became an essential part of Sarah's daily routine, a new source of energy that helped her face the challenges of being both a mother and a grandmother. But Sarah didn't stop there. She decided to fulfill a long-held dream that she had always pushed aside. She signed up for a meditation and emotional management course. At first, she wondered if it was selfish to spend time on herself when her grandchildren and daughter still needed her every day. But after some reflection, Sarah realized that finding peace in her soul didn't just benefit her, it made her a better mother and grandmother. As Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." These words resonated deeply with Sarah, helping her understand that caring for herself wasn't selfish. It was the only way she could truly give more, in a genuine and complete way. During meditation, Sarah gradually learned to let go of her needless worries about her grandchildren's future or her family's demands. She realized that she didn't need to control everything, nor did everything need to be perfect. Living in the present, doing what she could with compassion and calm, that was what really mattered. Through meditation, Sarah rediscovered the lightness and tranquility she had forgotten for so long. As time passed, Sarah's transformation became more evident. She no longer felt burdened by daily tasks. She no longer pressured herself to be perfect or conform to societal and family expectations. Instead, she chose to focus on the moment, to enjoy each second spent with her grandchildren naturally, without holding herself to impossible standards. One evening, after the grandchildren had gone to bed, Sarah decided to open up to her daughter about everything she had been going through. "I've been thinking a lot lately," she said, her voice calm but determined. "I've realized that to be a better grandmother, I need to spend more time on myself. Kids and you will always be the most precious parts of my life, but I need space to find peace too." Mina, Sarah's daughter, looked at her mother with surprise, but then a smile slowly spread across her face. She realized that her mother had discovered something important. "It's not selfish to take care of yourself, is it?" Mina said, her voice gentle yet understanding. Sarah smiled, recalling Epictetus's words, "Happiness and freedom begin with understanding that some things are not within our control." Mina nodded, her eyes reflecting newfound understanding. "I think I get it. You've changed, and life is different now. But I've never seen you so happy." Sarah placed her hand on Mina's shoulder, her gaze soft. "That's right, my dear. And that's what I want you to learn from me. It's never too late to find joy in the simple things and to renew yourself. Every challenge, every change is an opportunity for us to grow." That day, Mina and Sarah began to talk about new plans for Sarah's life. "Maybe it's time you had a space of your own where you can really care for yourself," Mina said, encouraging her mother. "A nice apartment with a big kitchen for all those secret recipes of yours," she laughed. "And a balcony for all the plants I love," Sarah added, her face lighting up with joy. The day Sarah moved into her new apartment was filled with emotions. She felt a mix of excitement and a little anxiety. "Am I doing the right thing?" she wondered. But then she remembered Carl Jung's words, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And she knew that this decision, though challenging at first, was the right one. Sarah had chosen to be brave, to live her own life, and most importantly, she had chosen happiness. One beautiful sunny morning, Mina visited her mother after days of reflecting on their recent conversation. This time, Mina no longer carried the worried expression she once had. Instead, she arrived with a look of admiration and respect. As she entered Sarah's new apartment, her smile was gentle yet warm. "Mom," she began, sitting down beside Sarah, "I've been thinking a lot about what you shared with me before. I realized you were right. I've started making time for myself, and to my surprise, it hasn't lessened the love I have for my family. In fact, it's made me feel lighter and more balanced." Sarah smiled gently, heart swelling with pride. "You see, Mina," she said lovingly, "sometimes, to find ourselves again, we need the courage to step away from old habits. Life is always changing, and we must learn to change with it without losing ourselves. That's the most important thing." Sarah's words felt like a soothing balm to Mina's soul. She no longer felt guilty or conflicted about carving out time for herself. Instead, she saw it as a liberating act that deepened her awareness of both self-love and family love. From that point on, their meetings were filled with joy, mutual understanding, and sincere affection. They were no longer visits driven by duty or obligation, but moments of genuine connection. Mina didn't just see her mother change. She learned from Sarah how to live with freedom and independence, which she slowly began incorporating into her own life. One warm evening, as the two sat together in Sarah's new apartment, Mina gently confided, "Mom, I think you've taught me the most valuable lesson of all. It's not just about making others happy, but about finding happiness for yourself, that you can share that joy with everyone." Sarah gazed at her daughter, eyes sparkling with joy and pride. "That's right, my dear. We don't love and value ourselves. How can we truly love others? Live your life fully, but never forget to take time to understand and love yourself," she advised, passing on a life lesson she had learned through her own struggle. Sarah's life was no longer just a story about independence in old age, but a journey of self-discovery. It was about finding joy and meaning in the small moments of life, things she had once overlooked in the whirlwind of responsibility. As philosopher Seneca once said, "Happiness doesn't come from external things, from harmony with yourself and what you do." Sarah had found that harmony, and it turned the later chapters of her life into a radiant new phase. When Sarah decided to move into her new apartment, many people around her were surprised and even a bit concerned. "How can you live alone at your age?" they asked, their eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and doubt. But with a mischievous smile and a twinkle in her eye, Sarah replied, "Alone? I have more social activities now than a celebrity." And it wasn't an exaggeration. Her new life gave her the freedom to pursue the things she had only dreamed of before. Social events, meeting friends, and personal hobbies like painting and gardening now filled her days. Physical distance between Sarah and her family, instead of creating a rift, had the opposite effect, made their bond stronger. The grandchildren's visits to her new apartment were no longer repetitive afternoons in front of the TV. They were adventures filled with laughter and new experience. One afternoon, the grandchildren arrived to find Sarah busy with a large painting. "Grandma, you're like Picasso," the youngest boy exclaimed. Sarah, with paint-streaked hands, laughed heartily and responded, "Picasso? No, I'm the great Sarasso." The room erupted in laughter. And that afternoon, amidst the sound of brushes and giggles, they completed a family masterpiece, now proudly displayed on Sarah's living room wall. Not only that, but the family's phone conversations with Sarah had also changed. They were no longer brief and superficial, but had become long, meaningful discussion. As psychologist Carl Rogers once said, "The good listener listens not only with his ears, with his eyes and heart." That was what Sarah's family was experiencing. A deeper, more genuine connection. Sarah's newfound independence didn't just positively affect her. It had a profound impact on her entire family. Mina, during one visit, confessed, "Seeing you live independently and happily has made me wonder if I should start pursuing my own dreams again." To everyone's surprise, Sarah's freedom had sparked changes in the lives of those she loved most. Her children and grandchildren no longer saw her as someone who depended on them, but as a strong, independent woman full of life. This inspired them to be true to themselves and to chase their own dreams. One day, while having coffee with her closest friends, Sarah reflected, I used to think that love meant always being together. Now I understand that true love needs space to grow." Her words echoed the sentiment of poet Khalil Gibran, who wrote, "Let there be spaces in your togetherness." Sarah had discovered the paradox of love, that sometimes distance is the key to closeness. As philosopher Erich Fromm once said, "Mature love says, I need you because I love you, not I love you because I need you." Sarah had transitioned from a love rooted in responsibility to a mature, healthy love, where freedom and autonomy were respected. This transformation didn't just bring happiness to Sarah. It benefited everyone around her. Mina and the grandchildren no longer felt pressure in their relationship with Sarah, but instead felt grateful to have two homes filled with love. Sarah's children felt freer, knowing that their mother was living a full, happy life. Sarah's story is not just about independence in old age, but a reminder that everyone deserves the space to grow and pursue their own joy, no matter their age. As psychologist Carl Jung once said, "The greatest influence we can have on our children is not by teaching them, but by living our own lives fully." Sarah had just that. She had lived her life to the full. And in doing so, she had inspired those around her, from her children to her friends and even herself. Sarah's legacy lies not only in what she did for her family, but in her bravery to live her own life. Through that, she sowed seeds of wisdom and love in everyone around her. Are you truly living the life you desire, or have you found yourself caught in the web of others' expectation? It's a question worth reflecting on, because at the end of the day, your life is your own, and you hold the power to shape it. Remember this. It's never too late to take control and start anew. Every day is an opportunity to turn the page, write a new chapter, and embrace the possibilities that lie ahead. Life is fleeting, and it's too precious to let fear or the limitations we place upon ourselves hold us back. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, or the comfort of the familiar, these barriers keep us from realizing our full potential. But imagine what your life could be like if you stepped beyond those boundaries. Imagine the joy, the growth, and the wisdom you would gain by daring to live life on your terms. Today is the perfect day to begin that journey. Right here, right now. What's stopping you from taking that first step toward your dreams? It could be as simple as trying something new, pursuing a passion that you've put aside, or making a bold decision that aligns with your true desires. Life isn't meant to be lived in the confines of fear or conformity. It's meant to be an adventure, full of growth, challenges, and self-discovery. When we step out of our comfort zones, we allow ourselves to learn. Each experience, even the uncomfortable or frightening ones, is an opportunity to grow. We don't evolve by staying stagnant. We evolve by embracing the unknown, by pushing ourselves to go further than we ever thought possible. There will be moments of doubt, and yes, sometimes fear will surface. But that's all part of the journey. Growth comes from challenge, and the most rewarding experiences often begin when we face what scares us the most. Now that you've started this reflection, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey may inspire someone else to take that first step too. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next insights we share. There's so much more ahead, and we're just getting started. Feel free to share this video with your friends, family, and anyone else who could use a little motivation to live life more fully. The more we spread these messages, the more we create a ripple effect, positive change. Your support means the world, and I'm grateful to have you on this journey. I wish you a day filled with energy, courage, and the confidence to chase your dreams. Keep pushing forward, keep believing in yourself, and remember that every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you deserve. See you in the next video, where we'll dive deeper into what it means to live life with purpose and passion. Until then, take care, stay inspired, and keep moving forward.